Good morning. How are you all today? We're continuing our studies from the book of Genesis, and we're in chapter 30. And our subject for today is going to be God is building the house of Jacob, or the family of Jacob, who will become the nation Israel. And through 4 women, God is going to build the house of Jacob, or the family of Jacob. In this chapter, we're going to see, including the chapter before, chapter 29, will be 11 sons born to Jacob. And then the last son will be born in chapter 35 of this same book. But right now we're focusing on God is building the house of Jacob. Welcome to Bible class with Andre and Betty. And again, thank you all for my new subscribers and those of you who send comments. And thank you all for listening. Beginning at verse 1 of Genesis chapter 30. And when Rachel saw that she bare Jacob no children, Rachel envied her sister and said unto Jacob, Give me children, or else I die. So she's envious of Leah, her sister, because she at this time had given Jacob 4 sons. And Rachel's jealousy is going to lead her to do some other things that we're going to identify in this chapter. So she said, if you don't give me children, I'm going to die. I don't know if she's saying she'll kill herself or what, but she said, lest or else I die. Verse 2. And Jacob's anger was kindled against Rachel. He got angry when she said that, and he said, Am I in God's stead, who had withheld from thee the fruit of the womb? You can't blame me. God is responsible for making you barren. Verse 3. And she said, Rachel said, Behold, my maid Bilhah, go in unto her, and she shall bear upon my knees, that I may also have children by her. So Bilhah will be able to bring me a baby, a surrogate baby. Verse 4, and she gave him Bilhah, her handmaid, to wife. And Jacob went in unto her. Verse 5, and Bilhah conceived and bare Jacob a son. Verse 6, and Rachel said, God had judged me, and had also heard my voice, and had given me a son. Therefore she called his name Dan. And predicting the judgment, Dan will not be among the 144,000 witnesses in Revelation chapter 7. And verse 7, and Bilhah, Rachel's maid, conceived again and bare Jacob a second son. So this maid had 2 sons, and Leah's maid is going to have 2 sons. And in chapter 30, it will be a total of 11 sons born unto Jacob. And so verse 8 says, and Rachel said, with a great wrestling have I wrestled with my sister, and I have prevailed, I've dominated. And she called his name Naphtali. So The name Dan means judging, and the name Naphtali means wrestling. So these sons of their names are building the house of Jacob. Verse 9. When Leah saw that she had left barren, she took Zilpah, her maid, and gave her Jacob to wife. And Zilpah, Leah's maid, bare Jacob a son. And Leah said, a troop cometh. And she called his name Gad. So Gad's name means a troop. Verse 12. And Zilpah, Leah's maid, bare Jacob a second son. And Leah said, happy am I, for the daughters will call me blessed. And she called his name Asher, which means happy. Now, you notice these women, Leah and Rachel, are naming the son, giving the sons names. They're not, Jacob is not giving them their name, nor the handmaidens. And so she called his name Asher, meaning she's happy that she now has these children. Verse 14. And Reuben, who is the oldest son, went in the days of wheat harvest and found mandrakes in the field and brought them unto his mother Leah. Then Rachel said to Leah, give me, I pray thee, of thy sons' mandrakes. Now, mandrakes are plants that have narcotic and fertility qualities. And Song of Solomon, chapter 7, will let us know that these mandrakes have a smell. So Rachel thought if she had those mandrakes, that would make her fertile and she could get pregnant. But in Song of Solomon, chapter 7, verse 13, let us know that they have a sweet smell or a pleasant odor. The mandrake, reading in verse 13, mandrakes give a smell, and at our gates all manner of pleasant fruits, new and old, which I have laid up for thee, O my beloved. And this is the Song of Solomon, chapter 7. And those are the only two places I found mentioned mandrakes. So Reuben found these mandrakes during wheat harvest. I don't know how old Reuben was at this time, but he was the firstborn. And now 6 sons have been born, so he's probably pre-teen age. And so, verse 15. And then Rachel, going back to verse 14, then Rachel said to Leah, give me, I pray thee, of thy sons' mandrakes. And she said unto her, this is Leah speaking, is it a small matter that thou hast taken my husband? Talking about Jacob. So they have enmity between each other. And wouldst thou take away my son's mandrakes also? You've taken my husband, and now are you going to take my son mandrakes? And Rachel said, therefore he shall lie with thee tonight for thy son's mandrakes. So she's buying the mandrakes from Leah. Verse 16. And Jacob came out of the field in the evening, and Leah went out to meet him and said, thou must come in unto me, for surely I have hired a pay for you to come in to me with my son's mandrakes. And he lay with her that night. Verse 17, and God hearkened unto Leah, and she conceived and bare Jacob the 5th son. So now she's began bearing children again. Verse 18, and Leah said, God had given me my hire or my wages, because I have given my maiden to my husband. And she called his name Issachar. So Issachar's name means hired. Verse 19, and Leah conceived again and bare Jacob the sixth son. Verse 20, and Leah said, God had endowed me with a good dowry. Now will my husband dwell with me, because I have borne him 6 sons. And she called his name Zebulun, which means dwelling. And so Leah thinks that, and it turns out that the house of Jacob was built by Leah and Rachel and the 4 sons of the handmaidens. Verse 21. And afterwards she bare a daughter and called her name Dinah. So they had one daughter. 22. And God remembered Rachel, and God hearkened to her and opened her womb. Verse 23, and she conceived and bare a son and said, God had taken away my shame or my reproach. And verse 24, and she called his name Joseph and said, the Lord shall add to me another son. And that will happen in chapter 35 of Genesis, beginning at verse 16. So now we'll have the house of Jacob being built by 2 sisters and 2 servant women. And the house of Jacob will become the 12 tribes of Israel in this same book, I think in like the 32nd chapter of Genesis. And the reason I'm cutting this short today is because there are another amount of scriptures from 25 to 43 that we'll have to spend a little time on. So you all look forward to next week, and we will continue building God building the house of Jacob. Thank you all for listening. Have a great day and a great week. Bye.